Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started, I'd like to ask y'all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation given by Mr. Colbert.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you tonight asking for wisdom as we make decisions on behalf of the citizens of Springdale. Lord, we ask that you be with our mayor and his staff and the governor and his staff, Lord, and also with all of the men and women of our armed forces. We ask for blessings on the people of Springdale. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay. We'll call to order this meeting of the Springdale Planning Commission, September 6th, 2022.
September already.
That's weird.
Okay.
And I'd like to welcome our new commissioner, Ray Cardiel. Glad to have you. Ready for your input. We'll have a roll call.
Austin.
Here.
Cardell.
Here.
Cloud. Compton.
Here.
Covert.
Here.
David. Mueller.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Tyler.
Here. Okay, now we'll go to approval of the minutes for August 2nd of 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve without, or do we have any additions or corrections?
I'd move that they be approved as presented.
Got
Second.
Second by Ms. Mueller. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes have passed. Okay, we're going to start with our tabled items from last month. The first one is R2253, Springdale's Best Storage, with a pre-plat 2210 and a waiver of 2213, presented by Bates and Associates and Will Kester.
Are you gonna do the rezoning? Are we gonna do it?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, while he's making his way to the mic, is there any tabled items?
Oh, thank you for the reminder. Yes, there are. We will not hear these following tabled items. R2256, Truman and Wayne Van Hook Living Trust. R2262, Mark and Donna Linker. R2263, Business Solutions Incorporated. PP 2213, Shiloh Meadows. We'll not hear L 2249, Wagon Wheel Storage Expansion. B 2286, Roberto Soto. B 2287, Mario Arroyo, however. And B 2288, Sandra Herrera. And I think that's all there is. So those items will not be heard tonight. So it's all yours.
Okay, so these properties on East
You need to turn the mic on. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. This property is on East Emma. Previously, the entire property had been zoned C2, and that includes what you see in the yellow hatches, as well as a house up towards the front of the street, and a property down at the bottom of the cul-de-sac on Castile Lane. So there are 5 houses there currently. One is on Emma. There are 6 houses. One's on Emma. Another one is on Emma. That one we plan to tear down. The other 3 are on Castile Lane. So we're planning to section off one of the houses on Emma and zone that to SF3, and section off those 3 houses on Castile at the bottom, turn those into SF3 as well. And the lot on the east side of Castile, that's going to SF3 as well. So the reason we've done that is because we plan to split those properties off. How's it going? And use those for residential purposes. So because we're splitting those off from what we intend to be a commercial site, we've kind of zoned those to be more in compliance or kind of in conformity with what we've got planned. And that's all I got. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning is not in keeping with the comprehensive land use plan. Is not recommended for approval. Is the long-term plan for this property to be a commercial use?
Yes.
And is there a reason why the structures that are there now can't remain non-conforming until such time as you want to use them for commercial use rather than rezoning them?
We just thought it would be cleaner. We're talking about the preliminary plat? Sorry, I just walked in.
Or we're talking about the rezone.
Oh, the rezoning, okay.
I mean, one reason is that
Kelster.
those three lots on Castile, that's a residential street. So we figured it made more sense for those to be residential.
Well, are they currently being rented out?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's one that you don't own? All of them? Okay. It just seems, it's important for the city to protect commercial areas from residential encroachment as much as it is the other way around. This whole area is shown on the land use plan as being commercial use. If you can continue to rent them as non-conforming uses until such time as you want to do something else with them, I don't understand why you would want to rezone them now. Because you'd have to come back if you intend to use them again for something commercial.
Well, in the event that we ever wanted to remodel those or perhaps tear them down and build new houses at that point, I'm going to assume they wouldn't be non-conforming uses. So I think the idea is that we plan for those to remain residential while we develop the rest of the property. We wouldn't be zoning them residential if we intended to use them as commercial for later on. We already have that zoning.
Okay. That's all my question.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? Any comments?
And then you also have a waiver of street improvements along Castile.
Yes, that's correct.
So you want them to remain as residential structures, but you don't want to improve the street in front of them.
We are planning on improving the street with a large-scale development. We hopefully in the next few weeks are going to propose a development on that whole thing you've got highlighted right there, that C2 area.
Could we have your name and address, please?
I'm sorry, I'm Jake Chavis with Bates and Associates.
Thank you.
Okay.
Patsy, did you say that the land use plan shows commercial for the whole thing?
It does, yes. Okay. So we need a call for the vote on the rezoning first.
May I ask a quick question? I'm sorry, let me interrupt you if you don't.
I may have the same issue.
I just want to go back to staff for a second. So it is listed as commercial, but the staff is opposing
Right.
because of having not all the houses torn down at one time, or because they want to tear all the houses down?
Well, the whole area is shown on the land use plan as being commercial. Retaining residential in that area creates a conflict between the commercial and the residential in the future. So when non-conforming, they could stay as non-conforming structures and be used as houses until such time as they want to tear them down. You just can't expand them beyond 30% because they're non-conforming, and the city would have to, the planning commission would have to approve the non-conforming.
Okay.
The one on, some of them are already zoned. The one on Emma Street is already zoned C2 and has been for quite some time.
What is this view that we're looking at right here? Current zoning?
That's the current zoning. Go to the next slide because that's the land use plan. Shows that the land
This
use,
is land use plan.
right.
In the packet, it says a 0.6 acre tract.
Which is those little lots. Go back to can you go back to that little piece right there?
This is all we're talking about rezoning?
But you're asking to rezone the house on Emma Street as well.
That's correct. One of
Okay.
them.
So do you have a legal description for that piece by itself?
Yes, we do. So the house on Emma, as well as, I believe it is 336, 352, and 368 down there, and the one on the east side of the cul-de-sac, those are lots 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Lot 2 is the balance of the property. Those 5 parcels altogether total about 1.75 acres, I believe, and the balance of the property is about 6 to 2/3.
Okay, but those legal descriptions don't exist right now.
That's correct, because we're about
Okay,
to do
so-
a lot split.
So
Right,
what
do
you,
preliminary
what you
plat.
submitted in your rezoning application was the entire tract. The preliminary plat creates those lot descriptions, so we don't have a way to know if we rezone those until the preliminary plat is approved.
So I submitted legal descriptions for lots 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, that is not their technical name yet because the lot split has not occurred, but there were individual legal descriptions for
Meets and
each.
bounds descriptions for each
Yes,
one?
that's correct.
Because I don't have that here. Okay,
Um,
we have that, that's fine. I don't remember seeing it, but,
They're associated with the preliminary plat, which is a later item, I believe.
And I did send those descriptions to Rick earlier today.
oh, okay, we just got them earlier today.
Well, I sent them with the application, but I sent it again to clarify.
Okay. This is very confusing that we are rezoning a description that doesn't exist.
And forgive me, you may have already mentioned this. What is the timing of the project for completion?
We are hoping to submit our large-scale plans here in the next few weeks.
And that's when you're wanting to talk about the street improvements as well?
Yeah. So with this preliminary plat that you see up here, there's not really any kind of water or sewer improvements. So if we're already gonna go ahead and do this big, large-scale development on the commercial piece, that's undeveloped, might as well do it all at the same time. Just makes a lot more sense feasibility-wise.
How long will the houses remain?
Drew, do you have an answer to that?
We don't have any plans to tear them down at the moment. They're individual residences on what we plan to build the self-storage facility on, so they need to be broke off just so the property makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, does the existing lot that's going to be commercial have water and sewer to it, separate from the individual houses? Does it cross those? I can't tell, there's too many lines on here for me to figure out where we are. I thought we were gonna see all this at one time. I think this is what took me by surprise to see the residential come out before we saw the large scale, so we see how this stuff fits together and the street improvement gets done at the same time.
So the question is whether the balance of the property, lot 2, has water and sewer to it.
Yeah, all of them have access to water and sewer, all of the lots.
Okay, so if you split that house off on Emma Street, there's water to what's left and sewer.
There should be sewer along the frontage there. It doesn't show on this page.
Should be.
Yeah. We can double check if you go to the other page.
Okay, can you go to the previous page and show me where the sewer is?
Yeah, see that's that green line along the frontage.
Okay, so there is a sewer connection that would at least get water to that piece of property.
Yeah.
And it has water. And
Mhm.
each one of those lots have sewer and water.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We just need to make sure we have legal descriptions for all of the separate pieces. Okay, we're back to a call for the vote on the rezone.
Can we look at the rezoning? Exactly what they're rezoning again? I mean, do we have a picture of how it's gonna be?
Well, what we don't have is that corner lot that's on Emmett Street where it says 2293, that house on there. That corner lot will be rezoned from what Will is saying as part of that other description as Lot 1.
That's actually,
Go back to the other page. So that little
Right there.
piece on the corner will be SF, whatever,
Lot 1.
SF3. And then Lot 2 will remain commercial. And then go to the next slide. 3, 4, 5, I can't read the numbers. Of all of those structures that down through there will remain as SF3, correct? Or go to SF3.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm having trouble rezoning along Emma Street. to SF3.
I think I would second that too. If it's gonna be, if it's gonna be commercial, all on, around in the back towards where the entrance, I'm assuming, would be. It seems like an odd spot to have a house right there too. Or to keep it residential.
Or change it back to a residential use is what we're doing. Because it's
It seems
commercial right
weird
now.
to change it back to that when you're when the plans. I don't have a problem with the others so much. They're
Right.
towards the back of the property, off of Emma. It's hard to see.
This is
When we bring this back, we can always bring it back with maybe some more intensive screening for the commercial part.
Would you be willing to do just the lots in the back part of the property right now, and let's wait until the commission can see the plans for the rest of that development that you'll have in a few weeks for that house in the front?
So as long as there will not be a rezone required for the lot split, we filed this rezone in hopes that it would make the lot split make more sense. I don't know if it would, we did not want to bring a commercial, we didn't want to bring a lot split that would leave you with these small commercial lots in this middle of the subdivision. So we thought this would be a more palatable request. So if you want to leave them commercial, I think we're okay with that and operating them as non-conforming uses.
All of them or just the one on Emma Street?
Maybe the way, as long as they're separated off the main track, that's fine.
Well, you can,
I would rather that one up towards Emma be personally be a non-conforming use instead of us rezone that to residential. I don't think that's probably, up on that front part of Emma. I just don't see a standalone house being like that forever. So I would prefer if we keep it that way.
And the commission is comfortable approving a lot split with those small lots remaining as commercial?
well, there's no minimum lot size in a commercial zone. When you rezone them to SF3, there's a minimum lot size. That's where you get the minimum lot size.
Okay.
So if you want to split all those up into commercial lots that are the same size as those structures, you can do that without rezoning anything. But the houses remain non-conforming uses. But they're just a commercial lot that's small. And then if you decided to incorporate that with something else, you'd have to go back and replat those lots and put it in to 2 or whatever other number you want to put them in.
So
It's the nonconformity that creates the issue of splitting them out.
Okay, so
What I'm hearing from Mr. Parker is that if you would take lot 1 off and leave it as commercial and do the ones that are on Castile and just rezone those to SF3, at least he's more inclined to support that.
When I voted for this in the past over here, because let's be honest, we've got some multifamily, there's some commercial. When I've usually voted to rezone something, it's been the whole parcel in its entirety and not a corner here and a corner down here. So my thought was just trying to keep it grouped together like that if we could, but if nobody's,
as long as having them remain commercial that won't prevent us from obtaining a lot split and having those smaller lots be commercial, then I don't necessarily know that we need the rezone.
Okay, so if you're submitting a Springdale Best Story subdivision preliminary plat with those lots on there as all commercial, and each one has sewer to it, there shouldn't be a problem with it. But it makes those houses non-conforming uses, which means if they're vacant for more than 6 months, you can't open them back up as a residential use. You can't expand the footprint more than 30%, and the planning commission has to approve that expansion up to 30%. Those are the deciding factors.
In that case, I think we'll be withdrawing the rezone request. And I'll leave the waiver and the preliminary plat to Bates and Associates.
Okay? You're gonna withdraw the rezoning. So now all we have left is the preliminary plat.
We got a waiver.
Yeah.
First.
Let's go over the comments on the preliminary
Okay.
plat. Are there any comments?
Planning has only standard comments outside of the waiver of street improvements requested.
Engineering comments, if the existing drive will remain for access to the existing house at 2275 East Emma, a shared access easement will be required. For any future drives, please be aware of the future minimum separation. As shown, a second drive on East Emma would not be possible. And then for the waivers that you've requested, please submit cost estimates for the improvements to be bonded, and please provide drainage improvements on the south end of Castile that will then provide that bond amount.
Any comments from the audience?
Okay, now, building has an issue about fire. Have they had their fire flows done, and are we good with that?
No, I haven't seen a fire flow on this yet. Now, that doesn't really affect the preliminary plat. It only affects it when we get the large scale. And we've advised the developers that they may not have enough water to build.
Okay, you guys are aware of that? Okay.
It's PP 2210. Any comments from the?
Okay, I got one
Go
more
ahead.
comment. So you want to waive the street improvements on Castile, and will you do a bill of assurance with that until the large scale, and those street improvements will be done with the large scale development? Does that work?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, so the waiver would be a bill of assurance for street improvements on Castile to be done with large scale.
Mhm.
And that could be 2 years or the approval of a large scale, okay?
Okay.
2 years, okay?
Is 2 years okay with you?
Okay. And that would be what we would recommend to council on the waiver of street improvements on Castile. And then you're gonna do the improvements on Emma Street.
Well, there would be no improvements associated with the preliminary plat, just because there's, I don't even think there are improvements for
Well,
the
there's
master
no
street.
curb gutter and sidewalk along.
Oh,
Emma
there's not
Street.
along Emma?
On
Then,
Emma
yeah,
Street
we would be
either.
requesting a waiver from all of it until the large scale gets approved.
Okay, so your bill of assurance will be Castile and Emma
Yes, ma'am.
with the approval of the large scale. The work will be done with the large scale or within 2 years,
Yes, ma'am.
whichever comes first. Okay. So that would be a recommendation of the waiver to the council with those conditions, if that's what the council wants to approve.
Any comments from the commission? So we're gonna start with the waiver.
Yep. So it would be a call for the question for the waiver with those conditions I just outlined.
This would be a motion forward to
That's right.
council.
Motion to council with the stipulations that Patsy called out for both Castile and Emma for a 2-year improvement or until large scale is approved.
Motion from Mr. Covert,
Second.
second from Ms. Mueller.
This is on the waiver, correct?
This is on the waiver.
Okay.
Yes, this is on the waiver.
Austin?
Yes.
Cardiel? That's not here. Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes. Pass 7-0.
Okay, staff will prepare the resolution on the waiver and it goes to council on the 27th.
Okay, now the PP 2210. Any comments from the commission? Be a motion to approve. First staff comments.
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Motion from Mr. Payton,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Cardiel? Yes. Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Austin?
Passes 7-0. Y'all are good to go.
Thank you very much.
Next is C 2213, Clayton and Jennifer Wormington. 7993 West Miller Road. And a variance for reduction of required road footage, B 2276, presented by Blue and Associates.
Hi, Nikki Littrell, Blue and Associates. I'm here to represent the project. As you said, we are requesting a conditional use permit for use unit 14, which is a residential manufactured home in an A1 zoning district, and a variance for reduction of required road frontage from 200 to 144 feet. And I can answer any questions you have.
Staff comments?
Okay, on the frontage requirement, you don't want to rezone it from A1 to something else because you want to put that manufactured home in an A1 zone and it has 2 acres.
Yes.
Okay, can we go to the drawing of the lot configurations? It is a very odd shaped lot. And that's to use the existing driveway,
Yes, I believe so.
and there will have to be an access easement granted to the track 2 because they don't have access to that driveway. It's not on their property. Do you have an access easement on here?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
If that's the newest drawing, yes. I
Okay,
think I
it
sent
says
that last
30-foot access easement per this plat, but is there a description for it over here?
week.
I don't
I don't
see a
s-
survey description for track 1, track 2, the flood zone, but I don't see a legal description for that.
We can
Driveway.
get that legal description. We could have that ready tomorrow.
Okay, and the proposed manufactured home, if approved, is to sit in the very front, in that very front triangle
Yes.
with lateral lines in front of it. And the backup for that is in the very back, and the health department approved it that way.
Yes, it's on the septic permit that is referenced, and it was submitted as well.
So if that front septic system fails, it has to be piped all the way to those lateral lines in the back,
I'm assuming so.
and it won't go across track 1,
No.
okay? I think that's all the questions I have.
We got any comments from the audience? To the commission?
First, we gotta do the reduction, the variance.
The variance for the reduction of required road footage. There'd be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call vote, Mr. Payton?
Who did that? Parker?
Mr. Payton, Mr. Parker.
Mr. Payton.
Okay, gotcha. I have to think of it too.
Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes,
Austin?
Yes.
Cardiel? Okay.
passes 7-0. Next is C 2213,
The,
use unit 14, residential manufactured home in an A1.
Okay.
Got any comments from the audience? Any comments from the commission? This will be a call for the vote
Call for the vote.
by Mr. Covert.
Covert?
Yes.
Dave, you're not here. Mueller?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes,
Austin?
Yes.
Cardiel? Compton?
Yes.
passes 7-0.
staff will prepare the resolution, goes to council on the 27th.
Next, we have C 2215, Rudy Villafranca, 4392 Reed Avenue, tandem lot in the Springdale planning area with a variance of paving requirement, B 2279, presented by Blue and Associates.
Nikki Littrell, Blue and Associates. As you stated, we are requesting a variance for the road paving requirement and a conditional use for the tandem lot that is being created.
Staff comments?
Everything. Septic system will fit on that lot as shown. You have a septic permit for that?
I don't, let me see. I'm not sure that we had a septic permit located, but I can look and find that. I'm assuming it's on septic, but I don't know that we have a permit.
I would think that the informal plat couldn't be approved until we know that that septic can be contained on that lot and it's lateral fields, because that's a requirement.
Okay, I can check into that.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? This will be we go with let's see what we got. Variance of paving requirements.
You gotta approve the conditional use first.
We do? Okay.
That's a call.
Call for the vote for the conditional use 2215.
Call for the vote.
Call for Ms. Mueller?
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Let's go with the variance now for the pavement requirement. Be a call for the vote.
Just a real quick question, Chairman. So the reason we're asking for the variance is for what reason?
The paving requirement, they had said we would need to pave the current driveway that exists all the way up to the property. And we believe since it was coming off of a dirt road, it wouldn't really make sense to pave the existing driveway.
Okay, do you know the distance that they're asking to pave?
I think it was all the way up, but I don't remember how far that
It
is.
has to touch the lot that's being created, so.
Yes, I think it would have to go all the way from the road down here, Reed Avenue, all the way to the tract.
Thank you.
And this is in the planning area, this is not in the city limits.
Your call for vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Colbert.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
This is an issue that goes to the county. We'll submit our comments to the county. You need to address that septic system so that we know that the lot can contain that septic system.
Okay, I can get that tomorrow.
Next, we have PP 2211, Whispering Springs, Howard Anderson Road and Hilton Road. The waiver W 2214, presented by Anderson Engineering.
Kevin Michael with Anderson Engineering. A little bit of a refresher, this is a 120 acre subdivision with Howard Anderson Road in the southwest corner and Hilton Road to the north, coming down south from the north. For Howard Anderson Road, we're requesting a waiver of street improvements. We're proposing paving that with the minimum paved width of 23 feet from the entrance there in the southwest corner, west along Howard Anderson Road to Butterfield Coach Road. The waiver is only for a waiver request of curb and gutter and sidewalks for that portion of off-site improvements. For this, we're following the section in the Code of Ordinances for procedure for subdivision approval. Step 2 of that procedure is preliminary plat, which also includes the preliminary drainage report. That's what we're requesting approval for today, is just the preliminary plat. The end of that section lists the preliminary plat requirements, which we have met. And then step 3, which will be the next step after approval of the preliminary plat, will be submission of plans and specifications. So the main reason this was tabled was for the question of access to Hilton Road. For that, our client's attorney is here to address comments and answer any questions related to that. I'll answer any questions about the preliminary plat itself, and we also have other representatives here as well.
Staff comments?
Staff has only standard comments outside of the request for the waiver of street improvements.
Engineering comments, street improvements to Howard Anderson Road are required, which a waiver has been requested for. And then in addition to that, we would just like to note that it does appear that additional right-of-way may need to be acquired for the improvements and the connection to Howard Anderson Road. And then access to Hilton Road should be confirmed.
But Steve, before you come, Ed, you want to talk or Steve, you want to talk about the fire flow issues with this? Y'all want to address those because they're comments that are still out there.
I think we beat this dead horse pretty good. This development is highly dependent upon the development to the north. And so I think they're working out how to get the street completed, Hilton Road, and how to get the water down Hilton Road so that they can finish the subdivision. They're at risk. If they don't get if they, for some reason they can't build Hilton Road, or for some reason they can't get that 12-inch main or 8-inch main down to the subdivision, they can't build houses other than phase one. They're aware of that. I think they're pretty well aware of that. So they just need to get that part straightened out, and I think they're working through that.
I just want to make sure we get it in the record. Okay? Steve, you have anything else?
No, I think Ed covered it, just that phase one, 30 homes for one single access.
I think everybody understands that, correct? Steve, Lyle, you have something you want to say?
No, I'm just here to field any questions about the Hilton Road access. I understand that came up last time. There is some debate as to whether or not that exists today, or if it's something that's going to need to be cleared up moving forward. I know Ernest Kate was asked to weigh in, and he felt there was still some confusion there as to whether or not it's have rightful access right now. All we're asking for tonight is that the approval you give of the plat would just be conditioned on us moving forward with, showing you that we have access to Hilton Road as necessary to complete the subdivision.
Which is the same action we took on the previous preliminary plat that was submitted for Whispering Springs. And the city attorney did weigh into it, indicating that he really thinks it needs a declaratory judgment action needs to be needed in order to resolve this issue once and for all. It's not an issue that we can resolve, and as long as you all understand that's the way that issue has to be taken care of, that affects the water and the road, then that's the only thing that's left. Okay. Larry, do you have a comment?
Yeah, if I can make one or two comments. Excuse me, Steve. Larry McCready, I represent Hilton Road Real Estate LLC, which are the property owners, excuse me, due north from this proposed subdivision. There are really two issues. There's certainly the access issue, and I don't think anything has changed since the last meeting. There's no sort of legal or recorded access down to the property on which the subdivision is sought. I think the other big issue is there's not any easements for utilities either. And so you've got the access just on there, but I'm not sure even for phase one where utilities, water and sewer are going to come from. I believe maybe they're coming from the north, but those easements aren't there. They're not shown on the preliminary plat. At least I wasn't able to see them. And I think they're required to be shown on the preliminary plat to be able to move forward. So at this point, I don't think they exist. I don't think there's confusion about it. I don't think they're there. I know Mr. Lyle and I, we have spoke. He thinks maybe he could get an easement down there. I'm not sure it would be wide enough to meet the road requirements for 60 feet that's needed, as well as getting the utility easements there. So until that's resolved, which it's not at this point, I think this project is premature, and I'd point that out to the commission.
Okay, that's noted that those issues have to be addressed.
Well, that's all I would say. There are any number of ways that this may go as far as establishing access down Hilton Road. The city's already participated and agreed to extend some of it themselves. These developers that are complaining about it have also agreed to extend and improve Hilton Road themselves as part of their approval. So there's and also there could be some private rights that are already established. So I don't expect us to be able to adjudicate all that tonight, but I do think that we understand going forward, there's going to have to be some resolution of it.
And it's at your risk that you're moving it forward.
Absolutely.
Your developer knows that.
Yes.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
This would be a motion subject to
Staff comments, yes,
on the preliminary plat.
yes.
Let's do that first.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion, Mr. Culver,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel,
Yes, ma'am.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. We're going to waiver the street improvements, W 2214. Be a motion to forward to council.
And this would be proposing they build 23 feet of paved surface to city standards, not do the curb and gutter and sidewalks on each side, as we have done in other subdivisions, because they don't own that property, but they got to have that as their access point. Okay. This would be a motion to recommend to council.
Do you have questions, sir?
They can't do that because they don't own the property, they can't make the improvements. Is that what you just said?
Well, they're asking to make the access just a wide enough street to be paved, but not have to do street improvements, including curb gutter and sidewalks on each side of that street, because those properties are still to be developed. And as those properties are developed, the remaining curb gutter and sidewalk could be done with those projects. As we have done, Watkins is being the example of that area from the ballpark over to the west, that we allowed them to build the street section. And as the properties on each side develop, that's how we got the rest of the improvements done. We do have a precedent for this, yes.
So we're at a motion to move forward to staff council.
Okay.
Proceed to council and staff comments.
Okay.
Motion to move forward to council with staff comments.
Motion, Mr. Colbert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Austin.
Yes.
Cardiel. Compton.
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution that goes to council on the 27th.
Next, we have FP 2202 Collins Cove. Presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brandon Rush with ESI. Believe Commission's familiar with this item, but happy to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
Planning staff has only standard comments.
Engineering has same comments from last month. Final plat checklist, standard items, specify links of each street to be dedicated to the city on the plat, which I think has been taken care of, and remove improvements along North 56th Street that were waived from the as-built drawings.
Okay, last time we had questions about the drainage. Y'all reviewed that, and everything's good. Katie,
Do
that's
you want to
you.
speak on it? Do you want? Yeah, okay.
Yes, we've worked with engineering to come up with a solution on that.
Okay, can you give us what we'll understand?
Basically, we installed a metal plate on the outlet structure that was constructed to make post-development flows less than pre-development.
Okay. And those have been done
Yes, as
Yes.
of today.
and inspected? Katie, you've looked at them?
I saw a photo. I have not been out there personally to see the steel plate. And we have communicated, and they're working on an as-built drainage report as well to supplement that.
Okay.
Any
But
comments?
yes, we are
Thank you.
satisfied with the.
Thank
with
you
the work
both
that has been
for
done.
taking care of that from last month.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, to be motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion, Ms. Mueller,
Second.
second by Mr. Colbert.
Cardiel. Compton.
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Austin.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
If you want this to go to council next Tuesday evening, the ordinance needs to be in our office by Wednesday at 5. Changing the date. I'm changing the time.
Do I?
I'm changing the time to Wednesday at 5.
That works for me.
Too short of a time frame.
Okay, next is L 2248 Patton Industrial Park amended, presented by Randy Ritchie.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Ritchie. I'm the project engineer. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have related to the site as well as the large scale. And Mr. Jason here. Oh, okay. Greg Ferris will be answering any questions specific to the tower.
It was pointed out at the last meeting that we didn't have all of the information that was requested or required in the ordinance concerning the tower itself. Mr. Ferris did present a narrative of for the communication towers that address the issues that were still remaining. And I think you all got a copy of that in your packet.
Thank you,
Ms. Christie. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Greg Ferris. I represent SCI Wireless, Tillman Infrastructures, and AT&T. This was and again, I appreciate staff. They have been pretty patient through this process. Thank you very much. Towers are allowed in limited industrial by your zoning code, as long as they submit the information that's required. I think in my narrative, I went through that information. The one thing that was in question, and I'll go into a little detail on that. I'm not going to go into a lot because I'll just answer your questions if you have more detail. And that is the last item, which is item 10. It's the application for new and expanded facilities shall contain a long-range plan which projects market demand and expansion needs. It's really difficult for any carrier to tell you exactly what they're going to do. They have a very specific formula on how they analyze a community, and they go by, here are users, here is our coverage, here is our capacity needs. They put all that into a matrix, and that kicks out whether or not they need a tower in an area or not. In this area, it was a little bit different. They had a previous lease on a tower in this area. That lease has expired. There was some issues between the leaseholder, and that's really not your issue. Your issue is whether or not we meet the requirements for a large-scale development, that improvement, which I think we have met that with Mr. Ritchie's drawings, and then whether or not we meet the criteria, which is what we have submitted. So that's kind of where we're at today, and be glad to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
Planning staff has only standard comments remaining.
Only engineering comment doesn't necessarily apply to this development, but the property, just need to see the filed drainage easement around that detention pond.
Any comments from the audience?
Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, my name is Jason Boyski. I represent George's Incorporated, George's Farms, and also SBA Towers 9, who are the owners of the reference tower with whom AT&T has a current contract. I've submitted a letter that has several enclosures to you, both before the August meeting and also here, and I know the commission is more than capable of reading what I put out there. But I will say this briefly, and I'm happy to answer any questions on what I wrote. But this tower is going to be located less than 750 feet from an existing tower that's already taller, on which AT&T operates equipment right now, that has capacity for them to expand, that has already installed the FirstNet capability that they talk about in their narrative that they just submitted, and has full capability of taking 5G on. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about what is and isn't the business of the commission. Springdale doesn't need this tower. It's going to abut against two tenants, and it's in plain sight of an existing tower. Any issues with that tower are going to affect George's, or George's Inc. and George's Farms in 2 of 4 directions. It's going to run against the general land use goals and industrial goals of this city by adding another tower, again, 750 feet away. And when we talk about something that provides for 20 miles, 750 feet might as well be from me to you, Commissioner Tyler. That's the distance we're talking about. They're asking for this tower, as the material we submitted shows, because it's AT&T's practice to go out and build new towers because it's cheaper for them. They want to add another tower to Springdale Skyline for their bottom line. That's what it's here for. There's no need for this. It exists already. And George's Inc., George's Farms, and SBA Towers 9 would ask you to deny this for these reasons. And again, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Any other comments from the audience?
If I might just correct one statement, I'm not sure where the gentleman says that these towers will go 20 miles. Our search ring in this day and age are down to 500 to 1,250 feet, quarter mile at the most. And that's because with 5G, it doesn't go that far. Whether or not AT&T can utilize that tower, this is a little better location for them. There may be some reasons other than just financial,
But the main point is that your code allows us to do this if we provide you the adequate information. These don't go 20 miles. There's no tower in Springdale that covers 20 miles. Most towers within the city limits of Springdale are going to be limited to a half mile to a mile at the most, if they're using 5G. Now, if you're using analog or you're using the old 4G LTE technology, you might be able to get a couple miles, but you never get 20 miles. You don't even get 20 miles out in the middle of nowhere, much less in a city the size and with the density of Springdale. So I wanted to correct that and make sure that that's part of the record. And again, this is not a question of whether you should be getting in between landlords and what's financially feasible. Your code allows us to build towers in a industrial area, which this is, as long as we show you and demonstrate the criteria that's set out in your code, which we did. So we believe that it should be approved based on that.
Any comments from the commission? Questions? This will be a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion, Mr. Covert.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mueller.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
No.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin. Cardiel,
Passes 4-3.
Thank you.
Next, we have B 2275 Manhattan Road and Bridge, variance for paving requirement, presented by Jason Teague.
Jason Teague, Manhattan Road and Bridge. We requested a variance from the paving code. I think we've got more stuff for y'all to look at. We did get a drainage report turned in, and then also you had asked about the fence location and the gate coming in off 265, and I did get that in there somewhere.
It's been submitted so that you don't block traffic.
That's correct.
Okay, how far back off of the road does it say?
80 feet from back of curb.
Okay, and you're going to gravel the entire site.
That's the plan, but now we're required to put in a detention pond, which we don't mind. We're getting that designed as we speak, so.
Okay, so you would be graveling all the area except where the detention pond is, and you can't gravel all the way up to the property line, right? Katie?
I believe ordinance specifies that you cannot park within 3 feet of your property line. So typically when we're looking at driveways and parking lots, we'll allow them to pave up to 3 feet. I don't think it's come up with gravel.
Okay.
Any other staff comments? Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote.
I was just gonna say, thanks for giving us a month to get all that
Yeah,
stuff
okay.
worked up from last month. Appreciate that.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Mr. Covert.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cardiel. Compton.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, you need to submit a drawing so that we all know where the detention pond's gonna go and what the areas to be gravelled are.
Absolutely. That being said, before that happens, can we begin what we were going to do?
Well, we would prefer to have the drawing first to know that the detention's in place before you start putting gravel there.
Right. And that would be on my risk. If I do it wrong, obviously, I've got to correct it, so.
I'm not gonna tell you you can do it before we get the drawing, if that's what you're asking.
But you're not going to tell me no either, right?
Was the approval based on the detention pond being in place? So I think the question is, the approval was based on the detention pond being in place.
Yes, sir. We would like to see the stormwater facilities in place first so that any impervious surface placed on the property would not cause any kind of flooding or stormwater issues.
And we don't wanna fine you for doing it backwards,
Sure.
okay?
Okay.
Okay?
We'll move on to public hearing rezoning. R 2254 JP Specialty, presented by Will Kellstrom.
Where'd Will go? Still here?
There he is.
There he comes. He heard his name called.
So we're asking to rezone this to C2. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. It's right next to a pretty large commercial park on the left, which is kind of a large format commercial park. And the rest of the land around it is undeveloped. So I think this one here is pretty compatible. I'm just here to answer questions if you guys have any.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan is recommended for approval. Protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character. Appropriate, we got the wrong one. Adequate land allocations for commercial uses to meet different demands. We got the wrong comments on there, but it's still recommended for approval.
Any comments from the audience? Please go up to the mic and state your name and address.
My name is Mark Willie. I live at 556. My wife and I have a house and shops there. This was our parents' property that we just recently split out. And the only comment I have is I'd like to know when fencing would be going in.
You mean fencing before development occurs or when the property is sold?
Temporary, before dirt work starts or anything of that nature.
Well, when they submit a large-scale development plan, then
Okay.
we will know what they're going to develop there, what kind of stormwater prevention they will need, and what kind of construction fencing and all. At this point, we're just rezoning it. They don't
Okay.
have to fence anything
So,
right now.
okay, very good.
Right.
That's all I need to know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other comments from the audience? To the commission? This will be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cordial, Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 27th.
Next, we have R 2255, Old VC Properties, presented by Roscoe Turner.
How you guys doing? This is for OVC?
Yes.
We're just looking to change from C2 to C5 in order to, we're putting a sand volleyball complex here. And with that, with food, it's easier to transition with a C5.
You're Roscoe Turner?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Any staff comments?
The adopted land use plan shows commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan is recommended for approval. Encourage planned integrated commercial areas by discouraging spot commercial development and the stringing out of commercial development along the street, and to encourage more pedestrian-oriented commercial settings.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, it's a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cordial, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Motion passes, or, excuse me, rezoning passes.
Staff will-
7-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 27th.
Thank you.
Next is R 2257, Commercial Computer Services, presented by Will Kellstrom.
Hi again. So we're wanting to rezone this corner lot, which is about 0.59 acres, from C2 to C5. C5 is a highway commercial type zoning. We're on the corner, this is on the corner of Highway 71B, which is obviously a major thoroughfare, and Wagon Wheel, which is also a pretty big thoroughfare as well. The purpose of this rezoning is we would like to put in a Scooter's Coffee, which I think is pretty commensurate with the rest of the uses that you see on this stretch of 71B. So With that, I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Staff comments?
The comprehensive land use plan indicates regional commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies for the city's economic base and tax structure through the promotion of healthy, stable commercial concentration and encourage the development of a wide range of commercial development for the residents and tourists to include neighborhood, community, and regional centers. Keep in mind that we are not rezoning it just for scooters. We are rezoning it for anything that would allow that kind of use in a C5, okay? We don't rezone for specific users, okay?
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Mr. Parker, I'm sorry.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next we have R2258 CJ Holdings, presented by Brittany Brown and Chuck Bell.
Hello, I'm Brittany Brown, representing this project for Key Concepts. Basically, we are asking for a rezone from A1 to SF2. Basically, our ultimate goal is to do a lot split, to split this into two properties, and they will no longer be 2 acres, so we're needing the rezone.
Staff comments?
The comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals: appropriate location for single-family.
Any com-
Go ahead. I was gonna say
Go ahead.
accessibility, utility, but you don't need all that extra stuff.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mr. Austin.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 27th.
Thank you.
Motion rezoning. Okay, next is R2259 ONG Cabling Services, presented by ONG Cabling Services.
Good evening. I'm requesting a rezoning for a Z2,
We need to know your name, please.
Orlando Serrano.
Is he authorized to represent? Hold on a second, we gotta make sure you're authorized to
Absolutely.
represent for the LLC. 2259. Serrano? Yeah, yeah, okay. We just have to make sure we got the right people standing at the table.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Staff comments?
Didn't turn my page fast enough. The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies and is recommended for approval and improve the city's economic base and tax structures through the promotion of healthy, stable commercial concentrations, ensure adequate land allocation for commercial areas of sufficient size and in proper locations.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote. Call for the vote. Call for the vote, Mr. Covert.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin.
Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 27th.
Next is R2260, Long Likens LLC, presented by Swope Engineering.
Hi, Phil Swope. This is just a small strip of land that will be absorbed into the rest of his land to the west. We're just trying to make the zoning consistent.
Staff comments?
The comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies. Improve the city's economic base and tax structure, ensure adequate land allocation for commercial areas, encourage the development of a wide range of commercial developments. Phil, do you know how this, when this was split off as such a narrow track?
Yeah, we went through a lot split, lot combination, or I think Blue did the lot combination that,
A lot combination in this little narrow strip was not zoned when the other one was done. I was just surprised that we missed this one somewhere along the line.
yeah, we weren't involved at that point, so I don't know.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for Mr. Colbert.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cardiel.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 27th.
Next is R 2261. Jason, Jessica, Floyd, and Linda Watson. Presented by Jason Watson.
Hello, we are requesting a rezoning from A1 and O1 to C2. The purpose is we want to develop the property for congruent with the planned bike trail at the bottom of the property, having some art trail, hospitality, which is informed right now of Airbnb, and small retail space.
Staff comments?
Comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies recommended for approval. Improve the city's economic base and tax structure, assure adequate land allocations for commercial areas, and encourage the development of a wide range of commercial development for the residents and tourists to include neighborhood, community, and regional centers.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cardiel, Compton.
Yes.
It passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have R 2264 Brooks Family LLC, presented by Will Kellstrom.
So this is pretty similar to the last C2 zoning I had one item ago. It's a large undeveloped piece of property that's pretty near to some other commercial properties. It's near 71B. We'd like to zone it C2 to develop it as storage and flex space. Although it would, all the uses allowed would be all the uses allowed under C2, just to clarify.
Attorneys do catch on, right?
Staff comments?
The rezoning, the comprehensive land use plan indicates regional commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies is recommended for approval. For the city's economic base and tax structure through the promotion of healthy, stable commercial concentrations, assure adequate land allocation for commercial uses, encourage the development of a wide range of commercial development for residents and tourists to include neighborhood, community, and regional centers.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote. Call for vote, Mr. Parker.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
It passes 7-0. Where we at now? Public hearing conditional uses. This is C 2216 Bonnie Coat LLC,
more
presented
time.
by Will Kellstrom. He just wanted,
Just stayed up here.
just wanting some exercise.
So we are asking for a conditional use for use unit 5 institutional facilities, in particular convalescent homes. So this property is already used as a group home. And we would like to purchase it and continue using it in the exact same way. It technically, if we bought it, it would still be allowed as a non-conforming use, but we would just like to get a conditional use permit for a little bit more certainty that the use is allowed. So we have submitted a site plan, which is more or less just shows exactly what's going on today. We understand that our conditional use permit would essentially be limited to this, and that's all we're asking for at this time. So with there being a fairly large convalescent home just down the street on the corner of, or not necessarily on the corner, but on Shady Grove, or I'm getting mixed up, on Stoltz Road, I think that this is a pretty compatible use here. So here to answer questions if you guys have any.
Staff comments?
The Rocking Chair Inn, though, has been closed for quite some time.
Right.
Right. And so it would be a new license to a new operator of the same kind of facility.
Correct.
Right, okay. The ingress and egress is acceptable, the off-street parking is acceptable, refuse and service areas is acceptable, utilities is acceptable, no screening is required. You're not changing the sign out, I'm assuming it will be the same sign just with a new
Correct.
information on it? No, not changing that?
Right.
Okay.
We intend to operate it in the exact same way as it has been historically.
With the same name?
I don't know about the same name.
Okay, but the sign will be the same. The yard requirements are acceptable. It is compatible with the adjacent properties as provided that the necessary state agencies and permits are received and improvements are made that are required by building code and fire codes.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? Be a
Any
call.
structural changes to the building?
Not right now. I think we're gonna slap a new coat of paint on it, make sure it's safe, and maybe do some updating, but no structural changes.
Well,
no.
you have to still meet whatever the existing building and fire code requirements are,
Certainly.
whatever those are, and I don't know if those will require any changes, because it was permitted years ago when the standards were a little bit different.
Certainly.
This be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Mr. Covert.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin. Yes. Cardiel. Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution, goes to council on the 27th.
Next is C 2217, Rooted Church, presented by Ryan Worley.
Good evening, Ryan Worley with Rooted Church. Thanks for the time this evening. We're requesting a conditional use of the properties in question on Chester Avenue to be used as use unit number 42 as a church. It's been used as a church for the last 13 plus years, and so we're just asking for a conditional use to continue on. Really the same thing it has been doing all those years, being a good neighbor to the surrounding areas and a positive part of the Springdale community.
Staff comments?
Basically, we are changing the conditional use from one church organization to a different one at the
That
same
is
location.
correct.
Right, conditional uses are not automatically changed, you have to come back to the planning commission. And this is at 1396 and 1401?
It's 1404.
Okay, 1404, and both structures is what you'll be using.
Correct.
Ingress and egress is acceptable, the off-street parking is acceptable with the off-street parking agreements which were provided, and those have been in place with the previous church. Refuse and service areas are acceptable, utilities are acceptable, no screening required. I'm assuming you're not changing the sign, other than you'll put the new church sign name on there, there'll be no additional signs?
That's correct.
Yard requirements are acceptable, the size and shape is acceptable. It is generally compatible with the adjacent properties is acceptable, provided that the sound ordinance requirements are met and any building and zoning requirements are met. We did have some issues with sound previously, but I haven't heard any of those issues in a long time, so I'm assuming all that got addressed previously and you'll be doing the same thing.
Yep, I believe so. I think the previous church met a little earlier than we planned to meet, so any music will happen later in the morning. It should be much less of a...
And it won't be really loud that the adjacent neighbors can hear, correct?
No, not
Okay.
at all.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
So just a quick question, Patsy. So the parking agreements with the previous church are still in,
No, they got all new ones.
they got on this, perfect.
All new ones signed to this church now.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you for presenting such a detailed submission for a church as a conditional use, because it really addressed all the issues.
Thank you, appreciate that.
There'll be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Mr. Mueller?
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have 2218 McFriar LLC, presented by Bill McClard.
Good afternoon. I am Bill McClard, and I have Bruce Smith with me over here if there's any questions. We're looking for conditional use permit to build a second building on the track that's shown up above there at 4784 North Thompson. We are still in the process of deciding exactly what everything is going to look like, but the company that we're going to put on that site is a company that actually works with something called an adjuvant, and they add that to vaccines. This is a company that's moving here from Hong Kong, and this will be their world headquarters. They will have between 25 and 30 highly educated, well-paid employees that will work on site here under the conditional use in order to do a lab, some warehousing, and some production. We have to get this conditional use permit. We only need about 35 parking spaces, so the drawing will be adjusted somewhat, but our final drawing will be a good deal like this. And I know that the staff has addressed that there's some things we have to do, and quite frankly, I don't know where I'm going to put my dumpster yet. We're a little bit early on that one. So there's several things in there that she's asked, that the staff has asked for. But I have a small statement about exactly what Pacific Gene Tech does. If you would like for me to read that, there was a very nice bit of information that was in my package that was pretty scientific as to what they're doing. And if you'd like to know more, I'll be happy to give you more. But this is an opportunity for the city to get a really nice company to move here. And we have every reason to believe we can do this if we can get the conditional use permit for it.
Staff comments?
Okay, you're asking for this conditional use for the use unit 24 and use unit 25 to be given to you or to this company, McFry LLC, rather than to the company that's moving in there.
We own the building, Ms. Patsy. I'm not sure I know the answer to your question. We have a tenant that has agreed to be there. Does it need to be in the name of the tenant or in ours?
Well, the question becomes, if they move out, can you go ahead and use it for dedicated warehousing and limited manufacturing? Because we are granting it to you, not necessarily to that specific company. I just want everybody to understand, because that's who the applicant is. Okay, and then the warehouse will be part of this same operation. They need the lab facility, as in the limited manufacturing, and the rest of it is a dedicated warehouse for this same user or a separate user?
They will have offices, they will have a laboratory, and then they will have a production area that also has a warehouse adjunct part of it that will hold their product until they can move it in or out. It's not really a dedicated warehouse.
Now, all of this being acceptable has to be subject to a large-scale development plan being submitted so that we can see how this is actually laid out. The ingress and egress appears to be acceptable if it's done like it's shown on here. The off-street parking and loading areas where required, we have to see the exact dimensions of the structures and how much is office and how much is production and how much is warehouse before we can determine how much off-street parking is needed, but that would be acceptable. As you said, there's no dumpster locations, but you'll have to tell us that on a large scale. The utilities are also subject to knowing that it can be handled on the large scale along with screening, whatever signs, the yard requirements. It all depends on what the large scale looks like. The size and shape appears to be acceptable. It is generally compatible with this area, but it would have to be approved subject to a large scale development plan, because we don't have so many of these things that are inserted. And I know it's early. You wanted to know you could get the conditional use for it before you did all the engineering work to do the large scale.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a cart before the horse or the horse?
Chicken or
before
the
cart,
egg,
whichever.
right. And before we do an awful lot of work, you know, we'd like to know that we can put this project.
So I guess
in.
in summary, I'm saying the proposed uses are acceptable, assuming that the large scale can be approved with all of that. So if you want to approve the conditional use subject to the submission of a large scale development plan approval, then that works for me.
And we're good for that too. We're good with that.
Is it, you're gonna build 2 buildings?
Right now, just one.
Right now, just one.
It's showing a 35,000 square foot footprint, 250 by 140. We're thinking we're probably going to build 25,000 of that now with them having room to expand in the future. But all of that will come in with the site plan as Ms. Christie has.
Do we have to do part of the building, or we can just say both of these buildings have this conditional use?
Well, I would suggest that if you approve this conditional use is subject to the submission of a large scale development plan that can be approved. And then that way we know what all the details are. This tells him he can move forward with getting a design and know it can work, but the conditional use really doesn't kick in until we know how it's laid out on this piece of property. This is not how we normally do it, but I understand the not wanting to do a lot of design in a C5 unless they know those things can happen.
We've got specialists working on how you put together the lab, the production area, the whole ball of wax. So it's going to take a lot of time and effort to get this where they can come and use it.
And the other deciding factor is this backs up to the new location of the Dixieland extension, and it may have access off of Dixieland by the time it gets built, and that creates a different situation. So we got several things going on here that yet to be worked.
Well, and we've got utilities on site now, but we've also got an agreement with Springdale Water that they're going to bring water and sewer down Dixieland, you know, so we've got that covered from a different direction too. So
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote. Call for vote, Mr. Parker?
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution that goes to council on the 27th.
thank you for your time.
Preliminary, we're getting ready to go to the preliminary plats. If it's okay with the commission, I'd like to take about a 5-minute break. Thank you. Okay, we'll get back to it. It's preliminary plats, replats, and final plats. First is RP 2209, Conestoga Park, presented by Jeremy Stone.
I am Jeremy Stone for the owner, Cal Freight. This project basically involves a replat of some lots the owner already had. They are at the end of that cul-de-sac. They've become 2 new lots, 7 and 8, 4, 5, and 6. I'll be
Staff
glad to
comment?
answer any questions.
Can you move the picture? There we go.
There we go.
Staff comments?
Oh, yeah.
Planning staff has only standard comments at this time.
No engineering comments? Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, this would be motion, subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mr. Mueller. Second by Mr. Covert.
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin.
Passes 7-0.
If you want this to go to council next Tuesday evening, the ordinance needs to be in our office by 5 o'clock on Wednesday,
Tomorrow,
tomorrow.
the ordinance needs to be,
If you want it to go to council next Tuesday. If you
Okay.
want to wait till the second one on the 27th, then you have a week.
I might be able to do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
We moved on to the large-scale developments. Start with L2247 Gray's Landing. Also a variance B2278 for commercial design standards, presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brandon Rush with ESI. This is a large-scale development, 1.08 acres, approximately 10,000 square foot commercial building, and variance for foundation landscaping along the sides and rear. Happy to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
Planning staff has standard comments. In addition, as Brandon had mentioned, there is a variance for foundation landscaping.
And Rick, they're providing the same amount of landscaping, just in a different location.
That is correct.
Engineering comments, submit signed and sealed drainage report. The loading space on the south side appears to restrict the driving lane if occupied, and Brandon and I have spoken about this already. And then I had one question, if there was a retaining wall proposed on the south side of the detention pond, because I couldn't really work out those elevations.
Any comments from the audience? It's to the commission. This is
Just for
motion.
my,
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry, just for my own education, if they're providing the same amount of landscaping at the same location, why do we show it as a variance request?
Because the ordinance requires they do foundation landscaping, and we haven't drafted a amendment that allows us to do that yet.
Got it, thank you.
It's on the list. One of these days, we might get to it. Maybe.
This is a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller. I'm gonna do the variance first.
Please.
Variance for commercial design standards, be a call for the vote, sorry.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote with Mr. Covert.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cardiel.
Variance passes 7-0. Now we'll go back. We already have a motion and second for staff comments on the large scale.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cardiel. Compton.
Yes.
Large scale passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next is L2251 County Line Commercial Park with the variance B 2291 for commercial design standards, the perimeter and foundation landscaping and screening, and a waiver of street improvements, RW 2217, presented by Bates and Associates.
Hi, Jake with Bates and Associates. I'm here for any questions on the engineer on this project. We are requesting 3 different commercial design standard variances. One is perimeter and foundational landscaping. Same foundation landscaping, same issue as the previous project. We are providing foundation landscaping elsewhere on site to compensate and mitigate for the lack of foundation landscaping that we're showing. Screening, let me do perimeter landscaping first. We are showing perimeter landscaping on our plans, only in the areas that we are going to develop. So as you can see from that, we are meeting the code in that area. It's just, we want to request the variance from having to, as you can see, that parcel is very, very long and we're not using half of it to develop. And there is existing canopy on either side, the west and the east side of that. So we were just trying to see if we can do it as we're showing here. And then the waiver of street improvements it's our understanding that funding has already been allocated to improve County Line, and that there are already engineering works in the plans.
Staff comments?
Planning staff has standard comments in addition to the request for variances that were outlined a moment ago, as well as the waiver of street improvements outlined a moment ago.
Engineering comments, all crossings under roadways by open cut must be backfilled with flowable fill. Improvements on County Line Road are required, for which a waiver has been requested. And since payment in lieu has been brought up, please submit an estimate for those improvements. Update your commercial drive detail. I also saw a detail for gravel paving. Is there gravel in this? Okay. And I would like some details on the retaining wall, and then there's just a typo in the detention pond profile.
Any comments from the audience?
I got a couple of questions. Where did you get the idea that funds had already been allocated for County Line Road?
That's what we had received word from someone. I can't recall who it is at the moment.
Okay, that must have just happened recently because I'm not aware of, you meaning the city's gonna do the improvements?
Yes, that's what we were told.
Okay. I did not
I
know
believe we
that.
are investigating County Line as a future bond program project.
I
but
think that's true,
I
but
do
I
not
don't
know
know
that
that-
any funds have been allocated or that any designs
Right.
are known.
Now, I agree. I think it's been looked at as a future bond program, but I don't think there's been any money set
So maybe we
aside
just got
for
some
it.
wrong
Are you
information.
dedicating the right of way necessary?
We'll gladly give the right of way necessary
Okay.
to do the
and
improvement.
Are you in agreement to do payment in lieu of improvements for the width of that piece of property?
That was actually a typo on my waiver request. I do a million of these things, but so that was totally my mistake. We would prefer not to do fee in lieu of, and that was the reason we would prefer not to. Is we were under the impression, like I said earlier, that funding had been allocated to it. If funding has not been allocated, then that would be a different story.
Okay. I can tell you that funding has not been allocated. It
Okay.
may be being considered as a future bond program, but we don't have any funding set aside for it. So it's either a payment in lieu of improvements or a bill of assurance for improvements, or you can ask for a complete waiver.
We will, as Katie suggested in her comments, we will submit a fee in lieu of.
Okay. You do a payment in lieu of improvements, so that takes care of that waiver. And you will submit the distance, and Katie, y'all will work out on what that amount is, okay. The perimeter and land, and foundation landscape, I understand. What's the intention of that property that goes on to the south? Is that for future development, or is it not going to be? I mean, I see you have your detention pond. Is there still area down there to be developed sometime in the future?
At this time, the developer has no intentions of developing. That's the purpose of that detention pond right there. We don't have any intention. I think further to the north, there's floodplain in that area.
But you're still gonna maintain it, even though you're putting your perimeter landscaping along that south, that doesn't mean that area down there is gonna be grown up and you don't take care of it, correct?
Yeah, we'll maintain it.
Okay, will you note on
As
the large
is.
scale, the area,
I think it's mostly canopy right now, isn't it? Yeah, it's all canopy.
can we go back to that aerial? Because it looks like there's some area down there that, the area that is not to be disturbed, do you have that identified on your large scale anywhere?
The area not to be disturbed, or where our development area ends.
Well, the limits of, the
Yes.
limits of disturbance,
It is not on this page. It should be on our grading plan,
okay?
which is page 5, I believe.
Okay, if we're gonna let you do perimeter landscaping at that location, we need to make sure that we're not just saying, oh, you don't have to do anything with the rest of it.
Yeah, sure, we can absolutely indicate that.
Okay. Add the remaining area to be maintained by the property owner.
Okay.
And these aren't to be sold, these are all remain as one owner?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and what was the comment about gravel parking?
We're not proposing any gravel parking. Katie we have a detail.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna
You
remove.
got that corrected, okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
I have two quick questions. The first one is, today the plan is not to do anything with the part of the property, so we're gonna hold off on the perimeter landscaping. What happens whenever they decide down the road, they decide to do something there?
That's why I asked that question. I don't know.
At that point, we would have to, if we didn't want to do it, we'd have to come back with another waiver for that large scale.
You're gonna have a hard time getting to it because you're putting buildings on the end.
Mm-hmm.
So your ability, you're gonna have to take a building down to get to that end. That's the only other thing I see that would, I was just wanting to make sure it
Yeah.
didn't get grown up and become a problem area.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
The second question is, if they do a bill of assurance or they do a fee in lieu of, and at some point the bond program goes through on that area, how do we handle their
If they do a payment in lieu of, that money is deposited into an interest-bearing account that the city has. When that project goes on, that fund is transferred over to that bond project.
Okay.
And their commitment is done.
Thank
And they are gonna donate the right of way.
Right. As part of the right-of-way is being donated with this.
Yeah, I believe we're already showing it, and
Okay. And we will need that by separate document because we don't file a large-scale development plan, so we will need a right-of-way dedication document that the city accepts.
yeah, per separate instrument, is that, or does
Per
it need to be an
separate,
easement?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Okay.
Okay, this, start with the variance, B 2291, A and B, lump it together. Sure. Okay. This will be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller?
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cardiel, Compton.
Yes. Passes, variance passes 7-0. Next is the large scale, be a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments and those made by the developer.
Motion by Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to Board of Adjustment, D 2278, Gray's Landing.
We just did that one.
Do what?
We just did that one.
We just did that one. Oh, it's on here. I didn't mark it off. Can I go to B 2281? 3265 North Thompson, presented by Expedient Civil Engineering.
I'm David Nixon. Mr. Ingles had to leave, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Staff comments?
Okay, what you're asking is to retain those three small structures that are on the site, correct?
Yes,
And you are paving an area around that in order to have paved parking for those to be used as office and storage.
correct.
Okay, and then you are fencing off an area to store swimming pool. Is that what you're putting in there?
It depends on our tenant. We've got 8 or 9 potential tenants, and they want various uses there. One was a swimming pool company, and he wanted to display his pools along Thompson. We have cleaned out that fence area so that you can see inside there from Thompson.
Okay, so the area behind the fence, you're asking for it to be a gravel lot, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
With a screening fence all the way around of an 8-foot wood privacy fencing
Yes.
with any landscaping?
No, there's already landscaping in front of the house, and that's all the landscaping we plan to do. And it's been gravel for many, many years.
Okay, and then the front portion of it will remain what gravel's there now,
Yes, ma'am.
and you won't be parking vehicles or anything on that area, you're displaying swimming pools and that's all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? This will be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller?
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin, Cardiel,
Quick question on that. That house to be renovated, exactly will be taking place? The existing outback?
What will the use be?
Yes.
We expect it'll be used as an office.
It can't be used for living in, it can only be used for an office or something like that, because it's uncommercial.
Right, it's non-residential.
Yes.
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next is B 2282, Rath Mitsubishi Motors, variance for increased post sign square footage, presented by Advanced Lighting and Sign Service.
Hi, I'm Chase Foils with Advanced Lighting. And, looking for a variance to increase the pole sign square footage.
Staff comments?
Okay, it appears from everything that you submitted, there's a lot more going on this site than just changing the sign out.
Correct.
And we have not seen a large-scale development plan on this proposed changes yet. So why are we looking at the sign now by
That-
itself?
That was the only thing required for the variance, as far as
Okay.
I know.
Well, we don't know what other variances are required because we don't know what else is being done to the building.
Could I maybe speak to that? Hello, I'm Larry Rath, the owner of the property. We are remodeling this facility into a Mitsubishi franchise store. The signage is just part of the remodel that's already been permitted. Interior, exterior upgrades. Everything else we're doing is either inside the building or attached to the outside of the building with no major changes there. The sign itself is there. It's a different shape of sign. It's a pole sign with a big square, sign on top of it. This sign that we're proposing is a monument style sign. The reason it requires the variance is that they're considering the entire structure as the size of the signage. Whereas now we have a pole with a big sign on top. This thing starts out, it's rectangular shape, and it starts out the same size at the bottom as it is at the top. It's a very clean, good-looking sign. It's the same height as the current sign. And a
It's
much
just
more
double the
modern.
size. The sign
Well,
square
because you're
face.
counting all of this entire structure. It basically is the same height. All they counted in the sign that's up there now is the actual, panels at the top.
Ed, do y'all have a building permit for this new addition onto this building? And the changes to the front, looks like you're putting a glassed-in area, is that under the existing roof? Or are you extending the?
No, that new addition, we're not doing that right now. Is this the only slide you have?
Well, keep going.
Yeah, this is the final look, or a representative look, that's not.
So are you adding on to the front of the existing building to
No.
create this glassed-in area, or is that under the
No, it's
existing
already
roof?
there.
Okay.
All
Ed?
we're doing is changing the cladding on the front of the building.
But the front of that building doesn't have that much glass in the front, does it?
Well, this is not our building. This is,
Okay,
it's
we're
gonna look
really
similar to that, but it's
confused.
not 2 stories. The
Okay,
building
we're-
is staying
We're really
exactly like
confused in that we got this package with all kinds of changes being made, and we're not sure what was going on.
The only thing we're asking for the variance on is just this sign. This is our street sign that goes
Okay.
out front. And all we're doing is taking down a 30-foot pole sign with big faces at the very top and putting up a nice, clean monument sign. But they count the entire size of that sign as signage.
Okay.
The actual signage, to me, is that little bit at the top, but that's how they're counting it.
Okay, Rick, can you go on? So that's what the sign's gonna look like,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's going to be, yeah, 30 feet tall. Okay, and because you're at the corner of Don Tyson Parkway and 71, you're in that sign overlay district, and that's where we are in that. Ed, are you ready to talk about this? Because we were very confused. We thought we were getting all kinds of
I am not the
changes
Yeah.
to the building.
I have reviewed a set of plans on this. You'll see there's a kind of a swoopy thing that it's the best way I can describe it, that they're building onto the side of the building. But you can see where it says Mitsubishi Motors there, and there's kind of that's kind of their logo,
That's called the dynamic slope.
Yeah, that's right, the dynamic slope,
Dynamic
yes, yeah.
slope.
But they're not adding to the footprint.
Thank you. We needed a
They're
name
not-
for that.
yes. They're not adding to the footprint of the building, and
Okay.
they are doing a full remodel on the inside, or at least the
Okay.
front half of it. And yes, the addition was not part of that. It confused me the first time I saw it too, because I
Okay.
was gonna send them to planning.
Because that was really confusing, because we thought, oh my gosh, we got all kinds of things going on here that we
As
have
far
never
as-
seen
as-
before.
As far as signage is concerned, my boss, who does all the signage, said there's something about a monument sign in this district.
Okay, I'm looking, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
They have an existing pole sign, obviously, which is grandfathered.
This goes on the same side.
So you're taking the existing sign down? Okay, here's what it says on one, non-flashing, freestanding sign no larger than 150 square feet per sign face with a maximum height of 30 feet, except no freestanding signs are allowed within 300 feet of the right-of-way of Don Tyson Parkway, within 300 feet of the right-of-way of Wagon Wheel. Are you within 300 feet of the right-of-way of Don Tyson?
No, this sign is not. My property obviously butts up to Tyson, but this is well back on the property, back north of Tyson.
Okay, then we're back to one, non-flashing, well. So basically, you're doubling the size of the sign face by making it 300 feet rather than 150, because the decision by the building inspector was the entire thing was a sign.
Yes, I wish I'd brought a picture of the current sign, because it's a pole sign with a great big face on the top of it, and they're counting this entire thing as face. Yeah, but they're, that's right here, they're counting.
Yeah, I
We got a bunch of-
I don't know how we could calculate it any other way
Well, you
if,
count it as a skirt, basically going up.
well, we don't have a provision for a sign with a skirt. That doesn't, it all
Ours
becomes
has
sign
one now.
face. So that's doubling the size. Does it have to be just like that
Yes.
to meet the trademark?
Yeah, it's part of our manufacturer's agreement.
Okay. There is a provision in the side ordinance about trade something or other, I remember.
I think part of it, Patsy, is those 4 panels underneath the brand
Mhm.
give leeway to someday you could put 4 other uses on that property and they would have signage inside
Yeah.
the building.
And I think that's part of the problem too. And it's the only sign that's available. There's no other modifications that can be made to this sign to meet that requirement?
That's for the, no, that's what it needs to be.
That's not what I asked you. Are there any alternative signs available from Mitsubishi that would meet the requirements?
I could leave the existing sign and probably talk them into that. This really brings a modern look to that property. A big improvement, I think, overall with all this other money we're spending on that property. I would really hate to do anything different. Leaving the existing sign, technically, I guess, would be an option. I could probably
Well,
talk
our concern is you have those 4 panels at the bottom. There's nothing to keep those from being changed out to say parts and services, new cars, used cars, and that entire face become a sign. That's on both sides. That's the problem that we get into when we approve it as that sign face. We're doubling the size of what's normally used.
Can
So
you
that's a decision
specify
you
that
guys
we
have to make.
can't do that? We
Okay.
don't have any intentions of that. Can you specify that that the sign remains just like this?
I don't know how we make that binding. I guess I'm looking at the city attorney.
I think you would just have to be able to reflect back to a record of these proceedings if such thing would exist to that specificity. And then arguably if they violate it, be written a citation. So for code violation of the sign ordinance.
Would be passed on from the next owner to the next owner?
Yeah, it goes with the sign that's there. If the dealership moves someplace else and something else comes in, the sign variance is granted at that location, so that's a problem.
Are we able to deed restrict in signage?
We don't do deed restrictions on those kind of issues, do we? No. There's no way to enforce those.
Would it be helpful if you could see a current sign?
We just had a picture that we
Do
were
you
looking
have
at
that?
here.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it meets the requirements in that it's just the top, it would be equal to the top two panels or something like that. And, you know, if you added more, if you get beyond 150 square feet, then you have to come in and ask for a variance for that, but it's up to you guys. What do you want to do with it? You want to vote on it as requested? That's all we're talking about, just this sign variance, that's it.
I'm ready to vote on it. Nothing against Rath or Mitsubishi. I just very rarely am gonna vote for a variance from our sign ordinance, because I feel like it's already pretty generous. So that's just my
Have
2
you looked
cents.
at the current sign versus this sign and what it does to the looks of that street?
It's bigger.
It's actually the same height, overall height, and it's actually a little narrower. It's 12 foot now, how wide it is now.
So much more modern looking.
That's
Ties
10
in
foot.
with what's happening on Don Tyson.
The
With
bottom,
the podiums.
sorry about that, but the bottom portion of the top 10 foot by 10 foot is the actual sign. The bottom, those, you're calling 4 panels, those are gonna come built together, they're not changeable. It's one solid skirt that goes around the sign. So you can't just pull those panels out and put, other signs.
I'm not trying to deter you. I'm just
Sure.
putting on the record how I'll vote, so, yeah.
Sure.
This will be a call for the vote.
I'll do a call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Parker.
Austin? Cardell? Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Parker?
No.
Tyler?
Yes.
5-2.
5-2, it passes.
You need to get with building inspection to get your sign permit. What?
Thank y'all.
Whatever. Somebody has to.
Moving on to B 2283, Get Graphic, presented by Bates and Associates.
I'm Jake Chavis with Bates and Associates. This will be the last time you see me tonight. This is a variance with a previously approved project, Get Graphic. We had a new engineer work on it. He's no longer with us, and he forgot to ask for this waiver while this was coming to y'all in the first place. So the waiver is from, I think, parking lot design standards. I think y'all's code mentions that you can only have 60% of your parking in the front of the building. You got to have the other 40 behind the building. This is, as you can see from our contour lines here, very challenging site to, if we were to add anything back there, it's very steep. There's floodplain back there. And it's all tree canopy that we would prefer to keep rather than to remove. So I'm here for any questions if you have any.
Staff comments?
I don't think we have any comments. I think we all knew this. We were just surprised it didn't get filed at the time when we did the large scale.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, it's a call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Dale.
Call for the vote, Dr. Compton.
Cardell? Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Austin?
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have B 2284, Lou Thompson and Son, presented by Lou Thompson.
We purchased this 3 acres from Steve Turner across from Ozark, Kenworth. We're a trucking company. We have 5 employees who live in the Louisville area, and Springdale area, and we didn't want them having to drive back and forth to Huntsville because they run from Carthage, Missouri to Ozark. We just bought it to have a place for the trucks to park because they was parking in the street and they were across from the Kenworth and at the truck stop. We would like to get a variance, a temporary variance, to get cement work. We were 5 months trying to get cement just to put an apron in. And that's what we're here for, to get a temporary variance so we can get somebody to pave the parking lot.
Staff comments?
Can we go to the next picture? So how much area are you going to be putting in concrete?
Less than an acre.
Okay. Less than an acre doesn't tell us anything.
Well,
Do you already have a driveway
yes, ma'am.
poured?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you give us a drawing that shows exactly where that concrete's going to be? I mean, we've got something kind of sketched out on a sign, on a aerial here, but we need something
Can you see that
that,
aerial deal there on that deal? I mean, we're talking, it's probably maybe 120 by 120. We just wanted somewhere to park 5 or 6 trucks.
okay. What are you gonna do with the rest of it?
We have no plans for it.
And you won't be parking on the grass?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have a problem with giving him a bill of assurance that he has it concreted within a certain amount of time, but we've got to have a drawing that shows the dimensions of it so we know what he's actually concreting is what needs to be done, and then we need to address the drainage issue unless it's been addressed with a full subdivision, because we're changing the surface area here. And do you want to start parking trucks on there now until you get it concreted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we don't normally do that. Katie, you want to talk about the drainage?
So drainage for this subdivision was not taken care of as a whole. Each lot that has developed has provided their own detention ponds so far. So I think we would like to see a drainage study on this to see exactly what the impact of the parking lot would be and mitigation if necessary.
Okay. So granting a variance to allow you to park on it until all that can be done is really what you're asking for.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can have that done in what amount of time?
Well, we would hope in 6 months.
Okay. This is a very unusual request because we don't normally grant a variance for something that we have so little information on, and we don't have an accurate drawing, and we don't have a site analysis to be done yet. So what do you want to do with this?
I mean, I know it seems simple enough, just parking some trucks, but I don't know that we let anybody pave that amount of, or do anything to that amount of land without doing some kind of study to see where the water's gonna start going and that kind of thing, right? So this would be an exception to that normally.
Have you started, do you have a civil engineer under contract to start looking at this site and getting it addressed yet?
No, ma'am, because we wasn't sure what we could do or couldn't do. That's why we wanted to come and see, you know, if it's 100 by 100, we're good with 100 by 100. If it's something bigger, we're gonna go bigger.
Would you be open to us tabling it for a month while you get all that worked up and come back next month and push, have a site plan so we know where the boundaries are and where all that stuff, and that way we can, I think that would make my decision a lot easier if we could see that.
If we can get an engineer to do this work for us in a month, we would approach one tomorrow, but as you know, we've struggled trying to get the driveway fixed. We were 5 months.
Who did the design work for your driveway?
I don't know, my son hired some company to do that,
And are they-
they met with your city people and they laid it all out for us.
Okay, so they got a driveway permit.
Yes, they got a curb cut permit, and they built it to commercial drive standards. And when I believe Brad was out there, and we noticed it had gravel, and that's kind of how this came
So it's
about.
already got gravel on it.
Mhm.
Is that picture at the top on this site where your trucks are parked there now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
So this gravel was placed recently. It's already there.
No, it's not recently. It's been 6 months ago.
Right, when the curb cut permit. Mhm.
okay. I have to ask, why was a curb cut given with no plan for what the development was gonna be?
There
That's
wasn't.
unusual.
It is unusual, and I believe at the time we had forwarded that to code enforcement to address the gravel driveways, or the gravel parking lot. But since all they asked for was a curb cut, it was granted.
Okay, so we've got trucks parking up there already
Yes, ma'am.
on gravel.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that I did not realize. I would suggest we table that for a month and see what you can get done in a month. You need to get an engineer hired. We need to do a pre-app and look at this thing and see what needs to be done. And then that'll give us a little bit better idea of what to tell you all to do with it. Or make a recommendation for next month. We're kind of caught in the middle here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would tell you the thing that jumps out to me, and I don't know, Mr. Thompson, if this is the case or not, but I will tell you the price of diesel. Anytime you can keep a truck from running back and forth is what the ultimate goal is, right? I get it.
And that's why we bought the property.
Sure. Is there an opportunity, Patsy, because I agree with the 30 days, is there an opportunity to allow them, since it's already gravelled, to at least let them park 30 days until we come back and review it next month?
Well, I was assuming they'd continue what they were doing until it
Okay,
comes
I just
back.
didn't know. I
Yeah,
just didn't know.
I would assume that they would
I
continue
would just
what
hate-
they're doing
yeah.
till then.
I would just hate to have them pull
Yeah.
off of there and
Yeah.
run just because it's as expensive as it is to do
That
business.
really doesn't make any sense since
Right.
all of this has already been done. Let's see if we can get it
Right,
into
right.
compliance as quickly as we can. That seems to be what we need to do. So if you will get with an engineer as quickly as you can and contact our office and let's sit down and see how we can figure out how to get you to where you're not in violation and can
Right.
continue
We
to
don't want-
operate
We don't
here.
want to be in violation.
Okay.
We thought we was in violation when we called and told them what we wanted, like to get a permit to put a driveway. They come and tell us what we want. We hired a contractor and we thought we was great.
Okay, well, I guess we didn't know enough
Can I
about
have your
what we were doing,
contact
so.
information?
Okay, we'll just table that one to next month and we'll see what we can do with it.
Okay, we'll move on to B 2285, Renee Ventura and Reina Aguilar, presented by Ashley and Jessley Ventura.
My name is Jesselyn Ventura, and this is my mother, Reina Aguilar, and she is asking for a variance of reduction of rear setback from 20 feet to 10 feet from the back porch. She's making it into an additional room.
Okay, so the back porch existed with just a cover over it previously, or was it just a concrete slab?
No, it was, she got permission for it about 18 to 20 years ago for the back porch. And what she decided to do off now is close it up and make it into a guest room.
So if she got permission to create the porch back then, did she get a variance for it to be, you're not making it any deeper than it is now, are you?
No, nothing. Just closing it off.
Ed, do you know how we got into this situation? Because if she got permission to extend it, the roof before, I'm not
She's
sure
got-
why we're
she-
here.
She applied for and received a permit to enclose the area underneath a porch. And on the first inspection, our inspector noticed that it was in the rear setbacks. And so they checked with your office and they found out there's no variance for it to be in the rear setbacks. So that's how we're here, is that they never received a variance when it was built. Whether it got a permit back then or not, we don't know. That's in the paper days and we don't keep those records anymore.
And how long ago did she do this?
I figured, I looked at the aerials, I wanted to say somewhere in 1990, in the late 1990s.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Even before my time, which is a really.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah, that's even
all
before
the
my
guilty parties no longer work here.
And it's not in there's not a utility easement because the utility easement is split. It's a
Yeah,
10-foot
I
utility.
said it looked like there was a 20, but I can misread those real easy because they split sometimes.
Yeah, okay. I just couldn't figure out if she got one before, why we didn't, but if it's that far back, who knows? Okay, that's the only question I have.
Any comments from the audience? It's to the commission. Call for the vote. Isn't it? Or is it a motion? Call for vote, Mr. Parker.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin. Cardiel.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, this time when we're gonna record it, we know that she got the variance this time, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is B 2289 Beaver Water District. Variance for landscaping, minimum width of two-way drive and, I don't know how to say radii. Presented by Olson Engineering.
Good evening. Rusty Cohen with Olson Engineering. Be happy to answer any questions you got on this project.
Staff comments?
These are all things that we saw on the large scale that was approved. It's just that the variance was not requested at that time. It takes
Yes,
a
ma'am.
separate form to do the variance request, not just talking about it. And now we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
the form here, so we're ready to move forward with that request.
Any comments from the audience? Be to the commission. Call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Covert.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Recuse.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cardiel. Compton.
Yes.
So 6 yes and 1 no.
601. Passes 6, 1 recused. Move on to B 2290 Gary Jacobson, 3684 Kelso Avenue, variance for increased sides and rear fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet. Presented by Gary Jacobson.
I'll do my best. I'm just, on Kelso Avenue, where we live, we have our fence that, when we had our house built, we had a pad, a 20 by 20 pad installed for our, pool that we're gonna put above ground pool next summer. And I already gotten the approval to be able to, all I'm doing is putting a fence around my pad and my patio, not only for safety, but privacy as well. And we're allowed the 6 feet, and we're just asking for 8 foot around. I'm just going around my existing patio and my new pad.
Because on how the property slopes down, a 6 foot would only go up to my forehead. And our daughter is 5'10", he's 6 foot, and the above ground pool is 52 inches high, so it'll only bring it to about a foot to 6 foot. So that's not private and that's not safe. If a child was to try to climb over and get in, we're gonna have it built around, but we're gonna have a door put on so we can lock it on the inside as well, so it brings extra protection. Because you can see the property sloping down.
It slopes down to do, and they had to build
we had
that
to
pad up.
And that would only, like I said, would only give us, the 6 foot would only give us to my forehead.
Yeah, because the 8 foot, when I held it up, it'll be
And I'm
enough to build it.
5'3".
Okay,
And-
let me ask you a question.
Okay,
Okay.
You've got a privacy fence around the outside of your.
Yeah, but it goes down.
Already.
yeah,
Okay,
around,
but
down
this
the,
is a fence around where the pool's gonna be itself.
yes, and
Not a
my,
perimeter fence.
yep, around my patio and around the pad that I got.
Okay, and what's the requirement for fencing around the pool itself?
I was,
I'm asking the
Oh.
building inspector.
oh, okay, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, sorry.
Minimum fence for pools 4 feet.
Okay, so they only have to have a 4-foot fence around the concrete pad itself. Okay. Where is the restriction that it can't be 8 foot around the pool? I'm confused about why we are asking for a variance.
The only restriction is the city fencing requirements that you can't go over 6 feet.
But that's the fence along the property line,
That's correct.
not around the pool itself.
I did not know what the rules were on that.
Okay, okay, now, are there covenants in the subdivision about fencing a pool? Does anybody Do you guys, have you looked at the covenants that you had that came with your structure?
We were advised of anything other than homeowners association. The owner gave us the okay to go ahead with our project.
The owner of what?
Real Clear Neighborhood, Andy, he's the one that gave us the approval to be able to go ahead and move forward with our project because we were asked to move our fence, our existing fence now, move it up towards the house, so I lose a lot of my back property, and then I could put fencing around my patio.
Okay, so we got two issues here. You have fencing now that is,
It slopes
It's
down.
down.
okay, I'm not asking about the
Oh,
You have a corner lot that has two fronts and two sides, correct? And the current fencing you have starts at the front of the house and goes down Cordova to the back and ties into the fence on the back?
it starts at the side of my house, on the east side of my house.
At the front, at the very front of it?
Kind of
or
right
at the back?
towards right close to the front, which would be the south side of the front part of my house. It goes, part of my house where I'm facing this way. If I'm facing this way, the fence is this, not all the way up to the edge of my house.
Probably like this one. Is it similar to 3662, just there to the west of you? I mean, you know, the side of that
Oh,
fence
yeah.
comes
Yeah.
up almost, not quite to the front corner. but-
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
quite to the front corner,
And
but
on both sides?
Huh?
On each side of your house?
the other side it comes to even with my neighbor to the west of me. My door that I have, my small door that we have there is right
Okay, and
with.
so you're not requesting to raise the height of that fence?
No, I'm looking to, I was approved to be able to put a fence up around, for safety in that, around our patio and around my existing patio and the pad. I'm for privacy and my neighbors behind me, and I've been dealing with a lot of them coming over my fence and drunk all the time, and
Okay, we're not gonna get into that.
yeah, regardless here, there,
That's
I'm
not
just
what we're
asking for, because I talked to, Tom with the building department, he said, you're allowed at 6, but if you want, I was asking to get the extra 2 feet to.
Okay, I'm not sure what Tom's coming from, if the perimeter fence,
Yeah, I'm not raising the perimeter fence.
okay, I know there's some issues from the POA, is there somebody here to represent the POA? Somebody that wants to address that?
Yes.
Okay.
So just real fast, this is a fence within a fence?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing, is a fence within a fence, because I didn't understand that either till just now. Okay,
I'm Deborah J. Cox. I am on the board of our HOA for the Eastview subdivision.
okay,
And we've been working with the Jacobsons, and they had requested a fence to be up at the concrete pad level, and they would still have the fence down at the sidewalk level.
okay,
And we said no to that they could take the fence from the sidewalk level to move it up at the concrete pad level at 6 feet. And the 6 feet is in the covenants.
okay,
That, you know, fencing has to be wood and it has to be no more than 6 feet.
okay. First, let me explain that the city does not enforce covenants. The
I
only time the city
understand.
enforces covenants is a plan unit development, which this isn't. So they are allowed by the ordinance to have that fence around the outside at 6 feet. They are allowed to have an interior fence around their pool, and it has to be at least 4 feet. But we don't have a maximum height that it can be around a pool. Ed, are you? Okay, so I'm not sure that this is something the city has a variance to grant. Taylor, am I missing something?
No, and you would know the rules on the fence better than me, you and Ed, but, yeah, and if it was an issue, I believe if I understood you correctly, there would be you're saying this violates the covenants, is that right? Right, and then that would just be, if they're in compliance with the city rules, that would just be an issue between the subdivision and this particular piece of property, and the city would stay out of it, essentially.
Unless you're asking for a variance for the fencing that's at the perimeter around the outside to go from 6 foot to 8 foot, the city doesn't have anything to grant a variance on.
Yeah, it's just wrong, but it's not gonna, I'm not raising my perimeter fence.
Okay, then we don't have a variance to hear. You're gonna have to take it up with the HOA, and y'all have to figure that out amongst yourselves, because the city requires 6 foot around the pool area and 4 foot, I'm sorry, 4 foot around the pool with no maximum. You'll have to work that out with the covenants that you have on the property, okay? We don't have a variance to grant if you're not asking for the exterior perimeter fence to be increased to 8 foot. Okay? Yeah, but we don't have one now. Okay. Take care of that.
Next is D 2291, County Line Commercial Park.
We already did that
We
one.
already did that one. I forgot to mark it. We're going to waivers.
We're going to waivers.
All right. All right. Let's start with W 2215, Jeremy and Kendra Williams. Waiver of sidewalk requirement, presented by Jeremy and Kendra Williams.
Hi, Kendra Williams, property owner at 8080 West Wagon Wheel. I think we gave you most of the information. There you go. I'm
You're
just here to-
building a single-family home?
Yeah, we already have, yes.
Okay. Staff does not recommend for waivers of sidewalks, so y'all know that already.
Got any comments from the audience? This will be to the commission. It'll be a motion forward to council.
Motion to forward to the city council.
To grant the waiver?
Yes.
Motion by Dr. Compton,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution, goes to council on the 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is 2216, Nick and Jill Schmidt. Waiver of sidewalk requirement, presented by Nick and Jill Schmidt.
Good evening. I'm Nick Schmidt, my wife Jill Schmidt. We are the adjoining lot to Kendra and Jeremy Williams.
Okay, is Copperhead Road a public street?
It's a private drive.
It's a private drive.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are they required to build a sidewalk on a private drive? This is. Where's the frontage on Wagon
I
Wheel?
have supplemental information.
No, I don't know why they're required to have a sidewalk. If they're not on a street, they don't have, this is a tandem lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there may have been some paving requirements which you received a variance for. I remember when the tandem lot was split up, I think there was a variance for paving. So there's
paving the
nothing-
driveway all the
Yeah,
way up to it.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not paving the driveway all the way up to there. You don't have any frontage on Wagon Wheel.
So you don't need a sidewalk. I think if you'll read the notes, they just applied for the variance because their neighbor had to get a variance.
Oh, okay.
It does carry.
We have,
Oh, it does go all the way Wagon Wheel?
we have 207 foot of frontage on Wagon Wheel.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
looking at this drawing, it doesn't look like I was confused. So
Yeah,
you
I'm not-
actually have 200 foot of frontage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then you do need a variance then. Okay. This drawing was confusing. Okay.
We know how staff feels about that.
You know how staff feels about sidewalks. Let's go from there.
All right. So this will be a motion to forward to council.
Would you mind if we tabled this till next month? No, I'm just kidding. Motion to approve to council,
That's a grant the waiver.
to grant the waiver to council.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Colbert.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution, goes to council on the 27th. I have to ask, is the name of the road to discourage people from coming that direction?
Yes.
That is
It would
correct.
keep me off of it.
She did well.
Mr. Parker and I were discussing that. It's still a great song. We don't care.
Next is W 2217, County Line
We
Commercial
already
Park.
did that one.
We already did that?
Yep.
How come you didn't mark it off my desk? It's getting late. Here we go. We're gonna move on to other. L 2108, Luther George Park expansion.
Okay, as y'all remember, we approved the large scale for Luther George Park last year. The steering committee raising funds to fund the park has done a great job. At this point, they're within $848,000, having $12 million raised for this park. We are ready to go to construction on that, but we need the large scale extended because they haven't actually broke ground yet. The groundbreaking is set for October the 7th, and so we just need a motion to extend the large scale for 1 year. And if you'll go on through the pictures, they can see the rest of it. The layout that we approved, it's getting ready to go. It's a great asset for downtown. I can preach on this for a long time. It depends
Motion
on
to
how much you wanna
approve
hear.
to extend for 1 year.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Colbert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Tyler,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. And last, we have expansion of a nonconformity in a C2. Presented by Ricardo Ballesteros. Staff comments?
Has there been any extensions made to this house previously? Ed?
Yeah, if you'll note, there's a small, I call it Queen Anne on the corner there. So that was added 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Okay, does the total amount,
I was in the field, that's all.
okay, the total amount being added to this, does it exceed 30%, an increase of 30%? Because the planning commission cannot approve above 30%.
May I clarify something that was done before the property became non-conforming?
Before the property what?
The addition was done before.
Oh, before it was rezoned to C2? Okay. And I have to ask the question, if the property being rezoned to C2, is the long-term use of this property going to remain residential? Or we keep adding on to it, or is it going to be converted to commercial use as what we thought was going to happen from the beginning when it was rezoned?
I have Winston lived there in that property as long as it's not having new lease agreement.
And you're adding a porch that will have a cover with no sides? And you don't ever intend to enclose it? Please make sure that gets in the minutes in case this comes up again, okay?
Don't worry about it, basically, I just want some shape.
Okay.
We know that it's 2,800 square feet, so we don't have to ask the question next time what the size, if we're exceeding 30%, do we know that? Is that a guess, or did he provide that, or how do we know that?
Well, the existing structure is that 2,800 square feet of the house, including the little thing on the front that was done before it was rezoned?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
total heating square footage range.
Okay, so we're adding 12 by 38?
Yeah, that's 4 feet.
Which is just a covered porch.
Yes.
So it's gonna bring it to what? I didn't do the math.
I didn't either. Anybody do the math on that?
3256, can you put that in the record too?
Not to exceed 32, what'd you say?
Well, it's 2,800. We just approved this addition, 456.
450 square feet.
So 456.
We haven't
divided
approved
by
this.
2,800. we've increased it by 16%. We
Okay.
can own this as we're at today.
Okay, increase it 16% today. Okay, that assuming it is approved. Yes. So the motion would be to approve at expansion of this non-conforming use not to exceed 16% as presented. That would be, if that's what, that could be the motion.
Not to exceed 16%.
Yes.
16.3, if you want to get technical.
456 square feet. Okay, not to exceed. And that, somebody gonna make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Motion to Mr. Parker.
That motion.
and it's not to be enclosed, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
You seconded it.
Haven't got a second yet. Roy got it.
Austin,
Yes.
Cardiel, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes, pardon me.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, planning director's report.
The rezonings that were submitted to council last month were all approved. The conditional use was approved. The replats and final plats were approved along with the waivers. Just as I was just saying about Luther George Park, with the city authorized the mayor to accept 3.1 million grant from the Walton Family Foundation for the Luther George Park, which put us at that all except 848,000. Work session on September the 20th. Ben Peters, who is the new city engineer, has agreed to come and talk about drainage improvements and how reviews are conducted, kind of give you a little bit better idea of how we handle drainage improvements and what's been going on or how we see those going in the future. So that would be at 5 o'clock on the 20th, and we may want to meet someplace besides my office. Yeah, we're gonna try to get this room, or if we can't get this room, the Shiloh Meeting Hall. Do y'all know where the Shiloh Meeting Hall is? It's the two-story building that's on the
It's on the
right up
principal
here.
side,
It's
yeah.
the white one right over here. Yeah, let's see if we can get that. One of the two, we'll let you know when that, but Ben will be there to talk, and engineering staff to talk about reviews. Okay?
Well, with that, I hear a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.